y'all. Welcome to another family edition of the Starchild Jr. Stuffs and Things podcast, where we talks about all types of stuffs and things. And today, I brought in one of the OGs of this thing, the fly on the wall. This is the man who knows it all. The rubber band official, Parliament-Funkadelic official. This is the man who is officially a part of all the bands. Whatever entity P-Funk that you know of, this man's voice is on it. I brought in Mr. Gary Mudbone Cooper. And, you know, we can hear your applause from home, so give it up, y'all. Give it up. What's up there, Muddy?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. First of all, I want to thank you for having me on your funky show, Starchildjr, because I love it, man. I really do. You got it going on, so it's
I
an honor.
appreciate it. I
It's an honor to
appreciate it.
be here.
I'm glad that you on here, man. You know, and like I said, man, I got a platform that everybody can be heard now, man. So of course I was gonna come around and get my uncle on here to tell some stories.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
indeed.
Yes,
So
sir.
so this is where we'll start. Let's start from the Baltimore beginnings because you know I live myself in the DC area and I got a lot of folks that follow me from the DC and Baltimore area. And you know, they already know that you a Baltimore cat. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the Baltimore beginnings, man. And how did you get into singing first and foremost? Let's start there. How did you get from
I'm gonna start with this on the quickness. I was actually born in Washington, D.C., but just a few days I was in Baltimore.
okay.
Yeah. I was born in D.C., but I grew up in Baltimore. I started singing at an early age because we lived in East Baltimore, and the home that we lived in was a three-family home with my mother and father and us on the second floor, the youngest sister up on the third floor with her two sons, and my aunt that inspired me to sing on the first floor, her and my uncle.
Okay.
And every morning I used to come downstairs, just to get pancakes from her. I was a pancake. She may have made me a pancake fanatic. So every
Yeah.
morning I would come downstairs and she picked me up, set me on a stool, on a kitchen stool, and
Uh-huh.
um, and she was playing the gospel music, and while she was playing, she's making my pancakes and all that stuff going on. And this was a daily ritual. This was really a daily ritual. Every day of
Okay.
her life this happened.
Okay.
So this was my mother's next to the oldest sister. The youngest
Okay.
one lived above us. The youngest sister and cousins lived above us. My mother, father, and myself on the second floor. My next to the oldest sister down on the first. Anyway, every morning she was doing this. And like I said, this went on religiously every day, every week, every year. And one day I came down, and she was doing her thing, with Mahalia Jackson and all of them on the radio and everything. She was singing, and I kicked in and started singing with her. And she stopped.
Uh-huh.
Garrett, she said, "You have a lovely voice." And I'm sitting there with my little legs swinging and stuff because I'm on them pancakes, man. You know what
I
I mean?
know that's
I'm on
right.
them
You're
pancakes.
a man after my own heart with that too.
So she told me, she asked me, she said, "Listen, will you go with me to church on Sunday and sing for the people?" And I said to her, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, I'm gonna tell Ruth," that was my mother, the
Okay.
next her sister. She said, "I'm gonna talk to Ruth, and we're gonna go down and buy you a nice suit so we can take you to church on Sunday." So they did all of that. I went to church that Sunday, and I sung a song that I learned from her called "In the Garden,"
Okay.
and did it. And I'm like I said, I'm 3 years old, so I'm looking at the reaction. I'm looking at people crying and all this stuff. And me being 3 years old, I didn't know whether I was hurting somebody.
You thought you did something wrong. You know, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I didn't know, but they was hallelujah, and they was crying and stuff. So I really didn't know whether I did something wrong or right. But anyway, that was the start. And from 3 years old up until about 6 years old, I sung with the little kids. But then when I was like 6 and 7, that's when I started singing with the junior choir. You,
Okay.
you know, that went on. And then by the time I stepped into about 10, 11 years old, I started singing around Baltimore with a group called Ricky and the Chips, because they were managed by parents, you know.
Okay.
Ricky was the band leader, saxophone player, you know, we East Baltimore thing, and their parents, you know, they booked us in cabarets and shows and things like that. And I got a little reputation around Baltimore as Baby James Brown. So that went on for some time. And
Could you dance too?
oh man, I mean, to be very honest with you, I regret that I don't have footages from back in those days, because really I was doing the stuff so deep, Garrett, that I actually ended up later on in a group with Peanut. Peanut and I got together. He was in a group called the Civics. They were four singers, like the Four Tops or
Uh-huh.
Temptations kind of thing. And they used to have me come on before them as Baby James Brown, but they also had me double into the group, which made them 5-part harmony and stuff like that.
Okay.
Long story short, we did a show at the Baltimore Civic Center, and this was with Stevie Wonder and uh, was it Stevie Wonder, Temptations? There was another group, the Unifics. All of this, we did a show with them. I came on doing the James Brown and got a standing ovation on Stevie Wonder's show. So in
Get
Baltimore, it was
down.
crazy. In Baltimore, it was crazy that they had literally taken me pretty serious, because I remember when James Brown came to
Uh-huh.
Baltimore, and when I went to the show, um, some people was hollering at me, "Hey, baby, James going up there with James." I was like, "Man, y'all got to be crazy." But what had happened was I got that invitation to go to the James Brown show, because I was doing a show with the band Ricky and the Chips for a community program called Operation Champ,
Okay.
and some of James Brown's band happened to be out in the strolling around in the city and stuff.
Mm.
And of all people, Maceo saw me. He saw me doing imitating James Brown, and he was the one that gave me the invitation to go down to the Baltimore Civic Center show.
Get
So
down.
it's crazy that I met him, not, you know, not prior to that, but I met him, got invited to come to see James Brown. And then what's really crazy is that when I moved from Baltimore
Uh-huh.
to go into my professional thing, which was 1973, I
Uh-huh.
left I left Baltimore 73, and Bootsy and them came and picked me up. And it was funny that I would join up with Bootsy to start what became Bootsy's Rubber Band. But also the deep part of that is that they've been the JBs.
Right.
You know, so Bootsy, Catfish, Frank, and all, they have been the JBs. So here it was, not knowing anything about the future, just dealing with life. I'm imitating James Brown as an amateur. I ended up working with a group that actually were members of the JBs, you
Okay.
know, who became Bootsy's Rubber Band. And plus, I brought in guys from Baltimore to have that other balance, which was Razor Sharp on keyboards, and Peanut. I went and bought it Peanut Johnson and stuff like that. And, you know, so it all, sometimes life, you don't know where you know, you know where you are, but you have no idea where you're going,
You know
you know.
what? I'm always telling people on my show, man, hey, the universe, man, you can't don't even fight the universe because the universe makes it happen the way it's supposed to happen.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I'm a firm believer of that too, Gary, because like I said, some of the greatest events in my life were things I never dreamed of.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that's why I was really interested in getting you on this show, man, because it seems like your entire, your entire coming to be in the P Funk uh phenomenon is all kind of just like that. You know what I mean? It's all just kind of just, I just happen to be here and it just happened to take me there, and you know what I mean? It's the coolest thing. So
yeah,
yeah. All
that's
right.
crazy too. That's crazy because when I was younger, I had never seen Funkadelic. And
Okay.
I had not seen them. But then after I saw them, I started telling people, "Oh yeah, I'm with Funkadelic." Now I wasn't with them, right? Because Baltimore, I had the street hustle going on. Okay, so when they
Okay.
picked down. I take care of them. But I
Uh-huh.
was thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to Hawaii with Funkadelic. Yeah, this weekend I'll be in Hawaii with haven't been nowhere.
So it's
But
safe to say you were one of the originals,
well, I was
one of the
with
original fans who was a part of the
the
band.
original fan and got a chance at the time to know most of the original members because the only one that I didn't get to know at the time was Tao Ross. I didn't get a chance to know him, and I
Okay.
think he was the rhythm guitar player,
Right.
and he did vocals. And then the other one was I, s- I didn't know Billy as good as I met Eddie Hazel and Tiki first. It was
Okay.
who I met first. Then after we got in association, then your dad, Boogie, we was we just we stayed like that.
Yeah.
We stayed like that. So yeah, man. Yeah.
Y'all, that was the beginning of the brotherhood, man. All my
Yeah.
unks.
That's right. That's right. Glenn, all that. By the time Glenn came in with Gary and all those, all of us together, that stuff was it was off the chain, man.
All right, so let's get there, right? All right, so we talked about Baltimore. Let's actually get into like how you actually let's get into like how you actually became a part of the band and like you always tell that story about your first time in the studio and all this. Let's talk about how all of that came about. Let's
Well,
talk about that.
actually, like I said, I was hustling in Baltimore. And
Uh-huh.
so anytime that, Funkadelic and them was like DC area or whatever, I was always there to, hook it up, whatever you guys need, no problem.
Okay.
The other side of it was Boogie was the first one that came to my parents' house.
Okay.
And when because we had that other thing in common, that's we was into super stupid. We was,
Uh-huh.
we was into that super stupid. And he came over and because I had been with some local bands and I was at that time I was with a local band called Madhouse. This was
Okay.
like 1971 and 72.
Okay.
And Boogie came over. When he came over, we was getting our head on, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I had some music in the background. He said, "What's that?" I said, "That's the group I'm working with." He said, "Who's that singing?" I said, "That's me singing." Boogie said, "You
Okay.
serious?" I said, "Yeah." So we hung out for a while, and then after that, I went with Boogie back to the hotel and going to the show and stuff. And he
Uh-huh.
told George, he said, "Man, the guy Gary, man, he be singing, man. He be singing with the group." And that's how I began to meet, more directly with George and them.
Okay.
So the group that was in Madhouse, I think it was like a year after that, we had a chance to, yeah, it was in 72, we had a chance to open for Funkadelic.
Okay.
And at that time, that's when George said to me, he said, "Hey man, listen, if I didn't know what group I'm in, I swear I was supposed to be in this one." And I was floored because Madhouse was different for that being a younger group. I mean, it being a group out of Baltimore, but we opened for a lot of groups. We opened for War. We did stuff with the Barcades. We opened for a lot of different people.
Uh-huh.
Ohio players and all that stuff. So whenever they had big shows in Baltimore, they had us on a lot of that. And so when George said that, I said, "Well, man, I know you don't need no singers right now. It's obvious. But if you ever need a singer, here's my number." And I
Mhm.
thought, "Oh, that'll never happen.
Uh-huh.
It never happened. But I was still cool because I know Funkadelic.
Right.
The year after the 1973, Frankie Cash told Bootsy, because Bootsy and them did a spell with Funkadelic, and
Uh-huh.
then they broke off and went into the Complete Strangers. And when they turned to the Complete Strangers, Frankie told Bootsy, he said, "Man, that dude in Baltimore, man, why don't you call him about singing and everything?" So Frankie and Bootsy and Catfish, they came and picked me up in Baltimore from my dad's house.
Okay.
And that's how I went back to Cincinnati. And then I ended up working, we ended up, formulating what became Bootsy's Rubber Band. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And from that point, Bootsy and I, we went in the studio. We started the first. We did like 3 demos. We did 4 demos, And then we did I'd Rather Be With You.
Okay.
And when we demoed I'd Rather Be With You, we just kind of knew like we on to something, man. You know. And it's crazy because that was a song that changed the whole thing for all of us, even for Bootsy, because Bootsy had already been playing bass with
Uh-huh.
James Brown. He had already been playing bass with Funkadelic. Then he left that and Complete Strangers. And then, this thing come up with the, collaboration, kind of changed his feel because he had that serious James Brown feel. But then Rather Be With You was the other side that kind of brought out what I was into in Baltimore, doo-wopping it with the group,
Uh-huh.
and the James Brown thing. So when we did Rather Be With You, we ended up getting an offer we got an offer from Motown first.
Okay.
Yeah, we got an offer from Motown first. And then, but we ended up going to Warner Brothers, with George,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And that just kept, and while we was actually recording our first Rubber Band album, which was being recorded in 1974, released in 75 and stuff like that. While we was in there recording the Rubber Band album, I was simultaneously doing my debut with Parliament. Chocolate City was my debut. And then so in the course of this, I had a chance to, work with Parliament, your dad and all of that, Eddie, um, then Glenn, he would come into the mix and all that stuff. So was doing the Rubber Band, which a lot of people don't realize that you say Bootsy's Rubber Band first album. There's names that's on that album. There's a name on it that says Fred Flintstone Allen, who's a keyboard player that I brought in before Razor Sharp.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he didn't make it with us, but his name is listed on the first album. But the reality of it is, even Peanut, people think that Peanut is on Rather Be With You, but that was the first time that I recorded my own voice singing harmony with myself uh, on a professional scale. That was the
Okay.
first time that I've ever recorded my voice, the harmonizing with myself. Then you got tunes like Another Point of View. That's me and your dad. That's me and your dad. Your dad is not only singing on the Rubber Band album, he's playing guitar on there.
Yeah.
Um, um, Physical, Rather Be With You. Boogie is playing drums on I
Mm-hmm.
Rather Be With You. Yeah. Physical Love. Eddie Hazel is on that one. Um, Along with your dad, and Boogie is playing. He's playing drums on. No, Boogie played drums on Vanish in Our Sleep. I did
Okay.
drums on Physical Love, but like so in the beginning, then like when we did that Physical Love, in the background is your dad, myself, and Glenn for the first time on Bootsy's album. A lot of people didn't know that Glenn was on first Rubber Band album as well. So
Okay.
there's a lot of input that came more from Funkadelic on Bootsy's Rubber Band than people realize,
That's
because it
right.
wasn't it wasn't all it was. Bernie, of course, played keyboards because that's Bernie on Rather Be With You. He was the one that introduced that melody and all of that stuff,
Okay.
and yeah,
Womp
yeah.
womp 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 womp. You talking about that?
Down, 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 down,
Dun,
down.
dun, dun. Okay. Ba, ba, da, 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 da. Okay. Dope.
We were singing that, but Bernie actually incorporated with the keyboard, and it was a little small piano. I forgot the name of it, but Celeste. It was called a
Okay.
Celeste.
Okay.
When I walked in the studio, I said, "Damn, they got toy pianos in here," but it was really a piano, but it looked like a toy. I ain't never seen no stuff like that because it
Right.
really looked like something your little child is going to go over there and hook up. But the sound was like, okay,
It's
whatever it looked
distinct.
like, whatever it looked like, make sure you keep that on. Don't don't
It,
don't delete that on
it's
the
distinct, man. It's a distinct thing on that melody and that sound and everything, man. So yeah, you most
Yeah.
definitely wanted to keep that.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
is awesome.
Yes.
Uh,
So, with all that going on, like I said, between Bootsy's Rubber Band album being recorded and then Chocolate City being recorded simultaneously, um, um, that that just that just made a really nice merge with all of us, because your dad and Bernie and them, they put such a nice flavor on what Bootsy and us was doing, because your dad played a lot in there, because at the time Catfish was having problems, and Catfish was not even in. He came in and played, but he
Uh,
was tied up earlier in legal stuff. So it's like, your dad was an integral part. Him and Bernie, and like I said, Eddie played on it, Physical Love and stuff like that. So it's a great moment, man, to go through the experience. And then, like I said, with Parliament, we was onto a whole. That was a whole nother.
so
That was a
that
whole.
was about to be my next thing. So let's get to that then. All right.
Okay.
Now you get with these cats and y'all start recording and you realize that you're on to something. And
Yeah.
before you know it, you're on this proverbial mothership and it's flying for the next what 4 or 5 years straight.
Yeah. I mean,
Star
it
Trek.
it flew serious
It
because
flew. It
yeah,
flew. So
yeah.
what was so let's get into that part. So now when it when it started getting to that and when it got to that, what was that like for you? Let's talk about that.
Well, that was an amazing experience for me. Not only just to be singing, but George dared to propose me to play drums. I'm saying, like, George, listen, I don't even have a drum set. I have never taken a drum lesson in my life.
That's why you're his favorite kind of drummer.
I'm just beating on my licks, that because when he came to my parents' house,
Uh-huh.
and they're getting our buzz on, coming up with P Funk Wants to Get Funked Up.
Okay.
That's and in the course of us, getting our heads on, and just flowing with the little idea, make my funk the P Funk.
Uh-huh.
I wants to get funked up. Us messing with that, I'm tapping on my legs and stuff. And George said, "Why don't you play drums?" I said, "Man, why don't you come down a little bit? We'll just stop getting buzzed. I think we pretty out there right now." But he said, "No, no, 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 no." He said, "Seriously, he said, I'll take care of everything." And
Must say no, I'm an
so,
out there kind of cat.
yeah, yeah. And the thing was too, man, was like, that was my first drum session.
Okay.
And so, not having a clue of what I was actually, because I was not an official drummer.
Hmm.
It wasn't about rudiments and radimacules and this and flams. It wasn't about,
Right.
it was just like, okay, I'm just going for a feel that feels right to me with this groove. And it just happened to work, you know. Because even guys like Dennis Chambers told me, he said, "Listen, Bone," he said, "man," because I brought Dennis Chambers into the business,
Hmm.
but him and Skeet in. And Dennis had told me many times, he said, "Man, Bone, I would have never approached the songs like that." He said, "But," he said, "I can't." So what can I say? You know, So first of all, that put me in a whole different thing, because I realized that George was seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Hmm.
Bootsy had messed with me when they got me to Cincinnati, because he just started telling me about the one.
Hmm.
He said, "All I want you to do is just do the one. Bang, bang." So I'm like, "Well, where's Frank at?" "Well, he's not here right now. So just give me the one." And he and I would just mess with. He got on the bass, and he and I would just mess with that,
Uh-huh.
down in his basement.
He can
So
groove
I
all
was
day to that.
yeah. So I was getting enlightened on stuff that I never even thought I was singing. Okay, we can get with that. But drums, I'm like, okay, that's a whole nother thing. And then by the time we got around to stretching out, I had the nerve to try to play tambourine that I had never did that. But I kind of felt, because I had rhythm,
Hmm.
I felt like, well, I could try to ease this in there, and it happened to work.
And
So
you made that tambourine playing, you developed your own flavor with that.
yeah,
That became your instrument after a while.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because I don't care whose session I go to. If it was Bob Dylan, I'm gonna walk in there with a tambourine, whether I play it or not. The bar got something I can play. Well, whoever it may be, I'm gonna at least have it with me because it really feels like I got to the point where I almost felt naked without it.
Yeah, we got to get you a tambourine endorsement, man. Speaking of, because I'm
Yeah,
telling you, you turn that into your instrument, man,
yeah,
and people need to know that. Whoever
yeah.
makes tambourines, whoever's the top of the line tambourine maker, y'all need to get with Bone Cooper, man, and get one or a couple in his hands, bro. Because I'm trying to tell you, he'll make your tambourines famous. He'll make them dance.
I love them. I love them. I
That's
love
what's up. And then we got another lesson in there for you aspiring drummers, especially you drummers who are trying to like figure out the what the code is to really being funky. Lessons learned, man. Messages were just the message was just conveyed to you, man. Less is more.
yeah,
Less is more, man. That's the feel when you want to play some funk. Less is more, man. Just give me the one.
yes.
Give me the
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, I picked that up too. After Bootsy brought that enlightenment to me, I was already into James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So I understood James Brown's beats. It's strange that I always understood it even before I even thought about touching drums. I understood his beats. I understood that rhythm that he had.
Uh-huh.
You know, Bootsy just put me in direct. He put me in the direct circle of okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna experience this together. I'm gonna show you the one, and I just want you to do this. I just want you to do that. And then George, like I said, him just hearing me beat on my legs,
Mm.
he figured out in his mind that well, if you can play that on your legs and on the table, you can transfer that over to drums. And he trusted me enough to go in it because I never did that. But
Uh-huh.
P Funk wants to get funked up. What's it? Night of the Thumposaurus people. Just a couple of them that I did.
Okay.
Um, Insurance Man for the Funk with Bernie.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
you on that?
yeah, Aqua Boogie, um,
Okay.
Atomic Dog. You
I know
know,
you played on Atomic
yeah,
Dog.
yeah. So so it got to be to a point. Then on Bootsy's records, what's a telephone bill? There was another one. Uh, Fly, come fly, whatever the name of that is. But
Oh,
something.
yeah, that one. Dude,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I can't think of it. Oh, rubber ducky.
Rubber Ducky, that's right. So and it's even more than that. But like I said, it's crazy that I ended up doing tracks that I had no idea that I would be in. No idea.
Yeah, yeah, and fans, man, they especially in that day, everybody was into the liner notes, man. And the liner notes were very misleading on a lot of those P Funk albums, man. So like I to give you for instance, I was on Questlove's live stream when he was doing the P Funk streams. Started during George's birthday, and he went all week just doing just picking the crates and playing music, and you was watching the fans, and it's like anytime somebody plays some guitar on a song, it's like there go Eddie Hazel. You know what I'm saying? Or anytime somebody plays a dope drum fill, they just name their favorite drummer or whoever was listed on the record. And
Right.
I realized that I was on there the whole time. Like it got to a point where I was like, guys, do you realize that there was so many other guitarists besides Eddie Hazel in this band? Or you
That's
know what I
right.
mean? Yeah.
Right.
Even
That's right.
Questlove himself, I think Questlove himself, he played the whole 15 minutes of Knee Deep. And
Oh yeah.
then so now look, at this point, this was at the end of his stream, and at this point, so many people had misnamed guitarists and misnamed this and that and the third. So when he first started, I said I posted on the stream, I was like, now anybody who doesn't know that this solo on this song is Mike Hampton, please excuse yourself from Questlove stream right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get to the solo, and just as it gets going, Questlove himself says, Eddie Hazel on the solo, y'all.
Oh boy, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So all that to say, that's why I like having you cats on here, man, because what I mean, we can set a lot of these records straight, man. And as you guys just found out, a lot of these drum tracks on some of these songs that y'all love, that y'all swore was probably Jerome Braley or Dennis Chambers or whoever it is that y'all love the most. There he is right there.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
drummer.
I
That's
did,
the
I
drummer
did,
right
I
there.
did, I did quite a few surprises,
That's the
but it
guy.
was, Boogie was exceptional on, like on drum beats. Like I said, he came up with stuff, that you would think. And then of course Tiki had his own place,
Oh,
Uh,
Tiki, man.
oh yeah, yeah, man. Tiki for me still, has always been. Tiki for me has always been. When you say funkadelic, you got to be talking about Tiki,
Oh yeah,
because his
man.
feel was just it was just Tiki's feel.
You know
You
what I
know?
loved about his feel? I feel like he played mainly on his foot and then just filled everything else up here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I feel like he played the meat of his rhythm on the foot. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Which is so dope, man. He
yeah,
was,
yeah. He
oh
had
man.
amazing. He had some amazing stuff. I mean, I felt fortunate to have the privilege of, like just first of all, I was like a little brother to him. You know,
Okay.
we was doing our thing together, but on the real side, on on stage and off stage, because he lived in DC, I was in Baltimore, so I used to go over to DC to his home and everything and hang out with him.
Hmm.
But to watch him how he did stuff, a lot of people didn't even realize that Tiki took stuff and he turned it into a creation. Like the first time that I saw him in a rehearsal sound check, he busted the snare head on his drum.
Uh-huh.
Took the head off and he grabbed two heads out of the box.
Hmm.
So he grabs two brand new snare heads. He took a blade and cut the rim off of one brand new head. I'm like, dude, why are you doing that? He said, just check it out, man. Just listen. Look. He took out two heads, cut the rim off of one of the new heads, put that up under the other new head, tightened both of them down, and it never burst again. Same thing with his bass drum. So who the drum company that came up with the double heads and all that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
Tiki is the one. He's the one that invented that one. Because I
Yeah.
stood there and watched him do it before the company came out making double-headed snares and stuff like that. So like, you see a lot of things, and then like the way he played with his, because he used to wear these boots that look like pirate boots.
Okay.
You know, and by him wearing that style of boot, he played with his heel and toe. Like when you got the bass
Uh-huh.
drum pedal, he's playing with the heel and toe like this. So
Uh-huh.
like he had a double feel on a single pedal.
My go-go drummers, you know about that. They're here in DC. They know about
Yeah, yes,
that
sir.
heel and toe action. They know about that here.
Yes, sir.
That's the
Yeah,
originator right there. Is Tiki
yeah,
Fulwood, y'all.
sir. Yes, sir. So it was
If you
amazing just to see those guys do things like they did,
you you drummers, man, if y'all want any clinics on just playing a foot, if you want a clinic on foot, check out Tiki Fulwood's work, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. If you want to just a clinic on just playing on your foot, check him
Mhm.
out.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
indeed. All right, so we got about maybe about 10 minutes left, man. So this
Okay.
is what I want to do here. I want to first I want to ask you specifically about the sessions for the clones of Dr. Funkenstein before I ask you about your solo work.
Okay.
I want to ask you about that. Just
Okay.
those sessions. Can put me in some of those sessions.
Well, the Clones album, all of that stuff. Your dad's thick all up in there.
Yeah, him and
He's thick.
Glenn.
Yeah,
Man.
thick, really thick. So, a lot of the guitar stuff, Bootsy was kicking in some stuff, but even Boogie, there was stuff that those sessions was just thick because the musicianship, the originality, the feels and stuff. I mean, it was coming like rain, coming like magic too, man, because those sessions flowed in a way that, we were getting stuff that was just happening and it wasn't forced. Those things was just a major flow. It was almost like it was almost like the outer space energy was coming to us. That whole concept, and I remember even with the clones. I remember George telling me about, he had he found a book at the
Mm-hmm.
airport by a doctor. Apparently, a doctor had left a book at the airport that was talking about clones.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, what is clones? And he told me about the reproductive cells and reproduction and stuff. And then he was gonna go for the clones as Dr. Fungus. George be on it, he'd be always on another page,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
you know.
man. I'm telling you.
But
I'm telling you.
but those vocal performances, the horn arrangements, all of that stuff was just, it was meant to be.
That's what I was getting at, man. It's like you said the words. I wanted to say like it sounded like those were some magical sessions, man. Because
Yes.
it's this magical sounds just that oozes off of that record, as you said. How about the vocal sessions, man? That I'm asking you specifically about this record because it was essentially what you just said. That record is one that I can hear specifically, like I can pinpoint the voices all over that, and you guys just sound like this magical, like this other galaxy kind of a glee club or something like that, man. It's like it's just like beautiful, man. And I guess because I know what I'm listening to and who I'm listening to, but I
Yeah.
feel like I can almost distinct hear each voice
Yeah.
in the midst of all of the the choral arrangements and choral melodies that are going on. I feel like I can hear each voice and distinguish each voice and each note, and
Yeah.
it's just some of the most magical shit. So I just wonder, like, what would the vocal sessions, man, what would
Vocal
those?
section, but the vocal sessions were, again, I use the word magic, intense, but also they were genius. Your dad had a lot to do with choral vocals because Gary would hear stuff, he go in and start something, and then he'll start dropping layers. And you, in the process, if you weren't actually singing at the same moment that he was,
Mm-hmm.
you would actually hear some stuff, and then you hear some stuff like, man, where's he going with that? Okay. But then all of a sudden, that is making all the damn sense in the world because his ear was always somewhere else.
Yeah.
Your dad always had a whole nother thing on hearing parts and harmonies, you know. And then Glenn had a very unique feel, coming out of this situation with Bobby Womack and all of them.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So that combination, I remember when we did Sexy Body, when we did that record, that was Glenn, Gary, Eddie Hazel, myself, and Boogie in the background. And I tell you the truth, that was, the way it just happened. There was no pre-rehearsals, there was none of that, you know. Whatever the vocals started happening and then the different stuff started coming in, Glenn started, layering this and then Gary do that. And me and Boogie, we was on this, Eddie, so the it was just some things are just what they are. They're meant to be. It took who did it to do it, you know. Because I remember times George used to say to me, "Hey, Bone, give me some of that Glee Club shit." You know, that's why all the dun 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 dun.
Uh-huh.
All
Uh-huh. All that. Hey, I rip it off on my music. I'm gonna tell you now, I steal the shit out of that stuff on
yes,
my music
yes,
because how dope and how effective it is. So
yes.
yeah, I dig it, man. Yeah, and you cats was the kings, man. Like those, and that for me, that album is like from a vocal standpoint, is like just the moment that just like stamps it for me. It's like, you know what? I think my favorite singers in the world are my uncles. Because these niggas is fucking on a whole other level. And
Yeah,
understand he just did you hear what he just said? This is not necessarily pre-rehearsed, you know I'm going back to something that I touched on earlier in this, man. The universe, bro. You don't doubt the universe because the universe makes things happen the way that they are supposed to happen, man.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that record for me is a testament to P Funk is P Funk has been given to you all, to us all by the universe, man. So
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy it, man.
Yes.
Enjoy
Yeah.
it, man, because it's a vibe, bro. That's essentially what you just let us know. It's a
Yeah.
vibe, bro. It's a
It,
vibe.
it is a vibe, and like another record that your dad was phenomenal on, and doing vocal arrangements is on Atomic Dog.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
There's
man.
no doubt about it.
I'm
Um,
gonna do a I'm gonna do a whole episode dedicated to that part of his production and sound. So
yes.
that's coming.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. So it's always been an honor. I'm still thankful to this day to have the privilege to be a part of all that creation and flow and inspiration and all that stuff that came to all of us.
Yeah. And
We really, none of us can individually take the take the credit for all of it.
mhm.
It came to all of us. It gave us what it gave us, and together, that's what created a phenomenal sound and music experience. And I'm just thankful, man, to be a part of that.
thank
And
thank you most high for bringing us all together, man.
yes, sir.
you
Yes,
know
sir.
you know
Yes, sir.
and dad, dad loved all y'all, man, but I remember specifically, man, like in the 80s, when the work had kind of slowed down. There wasn't much in the ways it shows, and everybody had kind of started doing their thing, and doing what they had to do. But I can remember when folks would just kind of check in from time to time, and I remember how excited they used to get when they would hear from you. Oh, money, what I'm saying, and some work, what I mean, and me and money about to get together. How excited he used to be about that, man. All
Yeah,
that a testament to the magic that, all of those sessions that ended up birthing all the relationships that we still have today, man.
100%.
All of that was a testament.
That's
Uh,
right.
you know what? Let's touch on Gary and Gary real quick, and then I want to get to Sly Fox, and then I'm gonna let you go, bro.
All righty. Gary and Gary to this day
Speaking
was
of,
still that was one of my most treasured moments, not just because it was just something that we was doing, but every everything I did in conjunction with Gary, everything that was shared vocally with us and musically in the studio was always, it's like we worked together, we was brothers and stuff, but we was like fans of each other. Okay, that's the only way I can say. When that nigga sang, when he sung a part, I was like, yeah, motherfucker, now I gotta come up with some shit for you. But it was all about inspiration. It was never about a competitiveness.
Mhm.
That was not amongst us, man, and I'm thankful for that, because with the magnitude of experience and ability and talent and skills, with the magnitude that individuals had with that, it was really, we were more of an inspiration to each other, you know. Um, even when Glenn came into the fold, and Gary and us sung together, we never had a spirit of competitiveness. We always had to, we know we got it going on. So let's blow these mugs away. Let's give them more what they funking for real. And that's how we felt. It was really it was an honor, to be able to do that together and not get in the way and have some crazy stuff going in the atmosphere. It was honorable, man, to really share those great abilities, and at the same time keep it heartfelt. you
Yes,
know
indeed.
when we got to Gary and Gary, man, I was like, I was so happy, because I looked at it like, well, that would be great if we have the opportunity just to display Gary and Gary, not with the intentions of, oh, we're gonna leave P Funk or leave Bootsy's Rubber Band, but just like car business. If you got Ford got them, then they got different subsidiaries of it.
Exactly.
You know, that's all that
Exactly.
I saw. Nothing else. Nothing else. Not a depart. Oh yeah, we're gonna go out here and beat them up. Wasn't none of that. I just knew that we had already portrayed that our talents together was unique,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And for me, was just another opportunity to project something amazing and keep the people moving, you know. So for me, that was one of the situations that I really look forward to. I will be honest, I was hurt that it didn't go through the way we would have liked it to, but at the same time, it's still in my heart and in my mind, it's still a treasured moment, regardless of where it went to. Or we got some things recorded, and for me, just everything that we did for each thing, whether it was the Brides of Funkenstein, whether it's Paulette, whether it was Parliament, whether it's Funkadelic, the things we did together are always honored by me, whatever they are. So
As they
yeah,
should be.
yeah,
You
man.
guys want to hear Gary and Mudbone at their probably most with their most acrobatic on the at this with the at the most display of acrobatics between these two on a record together. Go check out Stingy.
Ah,
Y'all
yes,
check that
sir.
out, man. You'll get
Yes,
exactly the gist of what I'm talking about when it comes to Gary and Gary, man, with this P Funk thing, man.
yes,
That'll do it
yes,
right
sir.
there. With
Yes,
George
sir.
on top of it, man, you get the man. I'm telling you, bro. I come up under kings, bro. I come up under the kings, bro. These cats are the kings. If y'all don't already know, y'all need to go do your research on these cats, man, because these are the kings. These are your favorite musicians right here that I'm bringing on here, man. You want to
Yes,
know
sir.
about these cats, dog. If you
Yes,
don't
sir. Stage.
already.
Lord
And if
have
you don't, shame on you for not knowing. You know what I'm saying? All right. So now I want to close this out, man. So all that work that you put in, man, all throughout the 70s, and now we get into the 80s, man, and you have a hit with Sly Fox, man. And
Yeah,
now before we get into that, I remember I was young, and I can remember I think the first time hearing that on the radio, and I tell you, Dad was beaming with pride
yes,
when that thing came on the radio, and probably also kicking himself too. But he was definitely beaming with some pride. It was like, man, that's Mudbone right there, man.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
remember like, oh, that's who, because I was a fan of you cats, man. I was a fan of everybody. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Especially if I didn't see them much, I was a super fan. You know what I mean? So I can remember the first time hearing that on the radio, and my mother loved it too, man. So, like they were just beaming with pride listening to you on the radio, man. And Sly Fox, dog, and Let's Go All the Way. That was some dope shit, man.
yes. Well,
Talk about that. What did that mean for you, man?
what it meant for me was if it wasn't going to be Gary and Gary, it had to be something that that still could be respected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let's Go All the Way came to me right after the disappointment came about Gary and I not being able to follow through with Gary and Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the producer said to me, he was like, man, he said, Bone, he said, man, we done had this, we done went through these changes about you and Gary, and you tried another guy from Heat Wave and all this stuff. And
Uh-huh.
the record company is saying like they don't have to, he told me, he said, they don't have to keep stretching things out for us. They got a million people that want a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to him, I said to him, he was on the phone, because I could tell he had the blues. Because Gary and Gary was like, for them, that was going to be the biggest thing that was going to happen as far as a new deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the blues, man. And then I remember saying to him, I said, well, listen, man, let's go all the way. I don't even know why I said that, Gary. I just said, man, listen, let's go all the way. And then right after that, I said, shum, shum, zing, zing, shum, shum. I said, listen, man, hey, listen, I'll give you a call back. I'll talk to you in a minute. I hung up the phone. I grabbed the little Panasonic tape recorder and I just put that on. I just hum, shum, shum, zing, shum, shum, zing. Then I dropped a little beat behind, shum, shum, zing, shum. I said, oh, yeah, that feels good. Then
Uh-huh.
after that, the melody came, the 3-chord change, came.
Uh-huh.
I said, oh, okay. And then right after the 3-chord change, it came back, sitting with the thinker, trying to work it out.
Mm.
And after that came, I knew that the song was complete. I called dude back. I said, man, these are some pieces I just dropped on it. He said, we're not even going to do a demo. He said, we're going straight into pre-production. That was great. But then here comes another singer being presented to me that I had no idea of. But I knew when we got together, we actually met in New York. I was
Uh-huh.
called in, we met in New York. We went to a little ice cream parlor. He sat down on the piano, I sat there, and we just back and forth on a couple of little melodies and stuff like that. And I realized, I said, well, hey man, it's a pretty nice blend. Let me call the producer and tell him like, hey man, we can try this out.
Uh-huh.
And we went from that conversation to upper state New York and started doing pre-production. When it happened, when it happened, I just knew. I said, man, this is one. This is one. You could just feel it, especially
Uh-huh.
after being with groups that already had hit records out. You kind of get that feel. You kind of know one when you know one.
Yeah. When
You
you know,
know,
you know, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so to my surprise, man, it actually blew up. You know, and still to this day, man, it still gives me the highest royalties of anything that I've done, even including Rather Be With You.
I can imagine. So is it safe to say that that was your probably your most proud accomplishment right there? Your most proud record, the one you
I,
most pride got the most pride in?
I would say that I would still say it's one of them. Reason why I say it's one, yeah, because I could say yeah I wrote that, but like I said, I got so much out of my moments with Gary and Glenn and Bootsy and all that stuff because everything we did was different.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
knew I knew you were gonna say that. That was a setup. That was
yeah,
a
yeah,
setup
yeah.
question. I knew you was gonna say
Everything
that.
was different. I'm still checking out people that still go back and they talk about the P-Funk records and they talk about Bootsy and they talk about it because in the heart, these are struck heart nerves. You know what I mean?
Those are magic moments, man, that fans shared with you as listeners. You know what I'm saying? They were
Yeah,
magic moments for everybody, man. Like there's still magic moments for us when we performing them on stage. Like that's the entire experience of coming to our show, man. Is just everybody just exchanging those good vibes with each other, man. They give us that good energy, man, and it makes us return it to them, and it's just
yes,
like like a cycle, man. Yeah,
yes,
good
yeah.
vibes, man. Magical moments, man. So I that was a setup question. I knew what you were gonna say because you
Well,
can't trade magical moments like
yeah,
that for the world, bro.
you can't. Yeah. And it's
Still to
tough.
this day, after all these years, people still love it just like they did then. So that
Yes, sir.
tells you
Yes, sir.
the
Yes, sir.
universe, man. Thank you to the higher power for bringing us together. I say it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yeah.
Uncle Mud, man, I appreciate you coming on my show today, man. It was
Man,
an honor having you on
I'm
here.
honored. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, nephew. I know Gary is proud of you. You
I
know,
hope so, man.
of
you,
course, man. Of course.
I
You know,
hear him from time to time, still in my ear, man. Kind of letting me know, man, in his way.
and helping me. You was in the studio. You was in the studio when way little. You know what I mean?
Uh
So
huh.
you've been
Yeah.
around, buddy. You've been around.
Well,
You gave
I'm
me
blessed, and I appreciate the fact that I was able to be raised in this manner, a manner around all these amazing, wonderful musicians. Man, I'm telling you, you guys are the cream of the crop. All of you guys are my favorite.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank
Much
you.
love, man. So you take care, man, and you can be on my show anytime, man. You come on back. Everybody, man, is welcome to come back anytime, man. So we make that happen and we'll kick it again.
Thank you. Family love to you. Stay blessed by the best, Garrett.
Much love to you too, man. You stay healthy, stay safe out there, man. See you soon.
Yes, sir.